Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Harun Shahid Bashir, and I'm going to present my project paper for social finance course at INSEAD University. So the title of my project paper is Funding the Development of Idle Waqf Land in Pakistan. So I'll start off with talking about the structure of my presentation. So I'll start off with introduction and research objectives. Then I'll dive into the reasons for the underdevelopment of Waqf in Pakistan. I'll talk about some successful case studies in Singapore and Malaysia and how they financed their idle waqf land. And then I'll talk about the solutions of funding idle waqf land in Pakistan. And then I'll finish off the presentation with some concluding remarks. We need to understand what waqf is. So waqf is an endowment. It is a voluntary, permanent, irrevocable dedication of one's portion of wealth in the cause of Allah. So Waqf have played a very important role in Muslim societies, from the beginning. Similarly, Pakistan has a rich history of Waqf, and it has over 100,000 acres of Waqf land, which is managed provincially by the Waqf department. Unfortunately, a lot of the land, a lot of the Waqf land in Pakistan is underutilized, encroached upon, and left idle due to lack of funding, government inefficiencies, and management lapses. So actually, one of the objectives of this project paper is to understand the reasons for the Waqf underdevelopment in Pakistan. And then we look at it into analysis of different Islamic social finance instruments which are being used by other countries, to develop their idle waqf land. And then we will, present some recommendations and strategies on funding and financing models to revitalize the idle waqf land in Pakistan. So I've narrowed down the reasons for the waqf underdevelopment in Pakistan to four major reasons. So the first reason is the unclear legal framework. So each of the provinces have their own legal framework for Waqf, managing Waqf in Pakistan. There's a lack of sort of a unified policy on how to manage Waqf, and these legal ordinances, they are basically from the 1960s, so they're pretty old, and they are not modernized to meet the different changing demands of the society. Furthermore, there's a very high registration fee. So as a Waqf, I want to get registered with the Waqf department. The registration fee can be as high as 5% of my annual budget. So a lot of the OCOF, in fact 20%, they are not formally registered with the provincial departments. There's also a lack of tax advantages. So there's no tax rebates on the income generated from the Waqf property. There's only tax rebate on the donations coming into the Waqf. And also, the government in Pakistan has a reputation of being inefficient. There's a bribery and corruption culture in Pakistan's government, and so that trickles down to a lot of the other a lot of the other departments, including the OCOF department of each of the provinces. So now let's look at the successful case studies of uh, of the two different countries, that is Singapore and Malaysia, and how they use different strategies to finance their idle waqf land. So the first example we have is from Singapore. There was a waqf in Ben Colleen Street. So Ben Colleen Street, is a very commercial area in the heart of Singapore. So the Waqf included a mosque and some neighboring shops. The rentals from the shop was very low and actually not enough to cover for the upkeep of the mosque. So the MUIS authority, which is the Waqf trustee in Singapore, they decided to undertake a project to upgrade this area into a residential complex of serviced apartments, and also to upgrade the shops and the mosque. So they basically used a Musharaka Sukuk as their underlying structure. And this Musharaka Sukuk was with two other parties, the Baitul Mal, which basically raised the capital through the issuance of a Sukuk. So $35 million were raised. And the Waris was the consultancy which provided the developers expertise to to do the construction on this project. So the redevelopment of the Waqf land was a major success. It increased the revenues massively. There was a massive uptick in the revenues. As you can estimate, so initial revenues before the construction was $19,000 per annum. After the construction of the residential complex and the commercial areas, the revenues increased massively to 5.3 million. This was really success, story in Singapore, how they used Musharaka Sukuk in order to raise funding and then utilize the underutilized Waqf land. Similar success stories we have in Malaysia of Imara Waqf. So Imara Waqf was situated in Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, in a land of 1.2 acres. And this was sort of an idle land which experienced rapid development after the Petronas Towers were built in 1998. So the Waqf authority in Malaysia, the MAIWP, they decided to arrange funding for an ambitious project, which was to build a 34-story commercial tower. And so they approached LTH, which used a build, operate, transfer model. So the Waqf land was leased to LTH, and LTH was the financier and also the developer who would then develop on the Waqf land. And then once the construction was completed, they will rent out the commercial building and then recoup their construction cost from the revenues generated from that rental income. And so the organization that the building was rented out to was actually the Minara Bank Islam, and this location actually became their headquarters. So the revenues from the rental of this building, they were shared between LTH and the Waqf trustee. This was again a very successful project. In fact, this project is considered a milestone in the Waqf history in Malaysia, and it is the first commercially developed Waqf land project in Malaysia. Looking back at these success stories, I've decided to formulate, four different solutions on how idle Waqf land can be rejuvenated in Pakistan and how funding can be secured. So the first solution is to look at the cooperative model, where members of the community pool funds and lease the idle Waqf land, and then the pool of funds is then used to develop either commercial or residential property on the Waqf land. And then the earnings from these developers are distributed among the members of the cooperative and also the Waqf trustee. And once the lease ends, then the buildings are given back to the Waqf trustee. So this is similar to the build and operate model. It's just that instead of one entity, it is a cooperative which is doing it. As you might be aware, there are a lot of the land in Pakistan is based on agricultural. So we have a lot of works which are also agricultural based. So for agricultural, a microfinancing remains a good option. So raising of funds through crowdfunding techniques from the use of fintech and digital wallets. And so the agricultural land could be leased to farmers who do not own their own land, and then the funds from the crowdfunding could be used for capital-intensive activities like purchasing of seeds, fertilizers, machinery, and improving irrigation facilities. And so once the crops are cultivated, profits could be shared between the farmers, the Waqf, and all the other parties concerned. So for funding of Waqf land which lies in the cities, especially developing commercial areas, Waqf Sukuk remains a very good option, similar to what we saw in Singapore with the Ben Kulin Street. The Waqf linked cash Waqf linked Sukuk or Ijara Waqf Sukuk remains a very good option to develop those commercially feasible idle Waqf lands in big cities like Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi. So because these sukuk have the potential to attract large scale investments, and the sukuk environment in Pakistan is really favorable because the government of Pakistan have put low issuance cost to sukuk, and also they have provided with the tax neutrality to sukuk issuances. And so last of the option remains is Zakat, Hasan, and Sadaqat for the Waqf development. So I know that this financing strategy may not be used to raise a lot of the capital, but when we are looking to develop idle Waqf land, you need to build up some economic model or some feasibility study to kick off the project. So these funding techniques could be actually used to fund maybe let's say the feasibility studies on to consultants on how the idle Waqf land could be developed, because the government or COF department really lacks funds to be able to be, generate these kind of reports, or to build out these feasibility studies. So to conclude my presentation, we've seen that waqf can play a really important role in transforming social welfare. Pakistan has large amounts of idle waqf land, and through the use of Islamic social finance, we can transform and provide financing to transform the idle waqf land. And utilization of this idle land can really become an important factor in improving the conditions of Pakistani society. It can, bring a sea of change and hopefully be a contributing factor to the socio-economic uplift of the Muslims living in Pakistan. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching.